Arthur Chaskalson, the former Chief Justice of South Africa, now retired. In 1963, he was a 31-year-old lawyer and a member of the defence team that stood by Nelson Mandela when he faced the death penalty in this courtroom at the Palace of Justice in Pretoria.
And he was a very, very imposing figure in the case at all times. In dealings with the prison authorities, he had tremendous dignity. And when they tried to humiliate him in the end, they couldn't. And when he asked for things and they said no, he would turn around and then ultimately they would give them to him like a desk in his cell to enable him to work. When he asked for it and the colonel in charge said, "You're a prisoner, what do you think?" And he just looked at him and turned his back on him and went away. And then when he went back to the cell, there was a desk waiting for him.
This was the launch of a book by one of the other men Arthur Chaskalson defended in the Rivonia Trial, Dennis Goldberg. A trial that was to prove a turning point in South Africa's history.
The moment of Mr. Mandela's speech was extraordinarily dramatic, and the speech itself was a wonderful speech. It lasted for about 6 hours. The court was packed, but people were silent. And then at the very end, when he said that these were ideals for which he had struggled and hoped to live for, but if needs be, he was prepared to die. There was a dramatic silence, which you could actually hear the silence in the court and feel it. And it was absolutely quiet, not a sound. And then the judge said, "Mr. Fisher, you can call him next week."
Years later, in a new democratic South Africa, Arthur Chaskalson was again in a courtroom with Nelson Mandela, this time at the opening of the Constitutional Court in Johannesburg.
As head of government and the Speaker as head of Parliament and the three arms of government were noting and recognizing the inauguration of the new Constitutional Court, and there were a lot of other dignitaries present and a lot of lawyers and others. And Mr. Mandela spoke on that occasion. He sat on the bench, he sat next to me on the bench, and I remember that he started by saying, "The last time I was in a court, it was to hear whether or not I was going to be sentenced to death." That's how he started his comments. But the next day we were going to consider whether or not capital punishment was consistent with the Constitution. So it was quite a dramatic opening. And well, if he had been executed, what would have happened?
Nelson Mandela often used to joke when introducing Arthur Chaskalson, "This is my lawyer. He sent me to jail for 27 years. Between the two men, there is nothing but respect."
I just wish him everything of the best and thank him for everything that he's done for us and our country and for millions of people all over the world. He's a wonderful man, and I wish him all the happiness that he can have.
Words from a man who helped save the life of one of the world's most famous prisoners, Nelson Mandela. Chris Bishop for CNBC Africa, Johannesburg.